Hi and welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, well, what are we doing? Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to stick a UBEC into this truck. I replaced the servo, the steering servo, in another episode. I'll put a link up here. Now, that servo has got some serious grunt to it, so it needs a lot of power. Now, the electronic speed controller in most cars has a BEC built in, but that BEC sometimes doesn't have enough juice to supply to these much more powerful servos, and that's where this little tiny widget that came from China is for. What it does is, if the BEC that's inside the electronic speed controller is only putting out, I don't know, 1 amp, and it's putting out 2 volts, 3 volts, whatever, well, that's not enough for these new high-powered servos that you use on rock crawlers or the very fast-moving servos for more race buggies and things like that. So what this does is this takes power straight from the battery, gives it to the receiver, which then dishes it straight to the servo, so you can really up the voltage that the servo is getting, and then it will perform at its maximum capacity. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to stick it in the car. Now, if you're going to give this a go, you take it at your own risk. I'm no expert on this front, and also my soldering is shockingly bad, so don't use my soldering techniques whatever you do, because you'll be going backwards in the soldering front. But I thought you might want to see me put one of these in, and we can then see if it makes any real difference. Right, let's give it a go. So first things first is the receiver is actually inside a waterproof box on this truck, mainly because it's obviously a 4x4 crawler, but your buggy or truggy or whatever you're going to put this in will vary. It's a very easy thing to remove on the Traxxas TRX4, but this is not specific to this car. You can do this on lots of different vehicles. If you've got a race buggy or something like that, and you just want to have a really fast steering servo, you might want to put one of these in for that. Now, I've already changed the receiver in this car to an aftermarket one, so I'm just extending the wires a little bit to make my life a little bit easier, and I had a few bits lying around that are good enough, so should do it. Good enough, good enough. Let's turn that off for a bit. There we go. I wouldn't be your electrician, but it's good enough for what we're about to do. So that's giving me much more opportunity to place the BEC in a different location. So the idea is to have both the cables going up the shrink, connected to each other and then attached, and then after that I can move the shrink wrap up, seal the whole thing, and that should do the job. So after fighting constantly, I finally got my soldering to a level that actually worked. Yeah, that was awful. I had to do that twice. Yeah, the wiring is correct, but my soldering is not so good. No, not so good at all. I need a holder, the one with the arms with the you need 3 hands for this, and that's my excuse for why I have the worst soldering in the world. But I've managed to get it in there, so the power and the negative are running up through the heat shrink, so it takes the pressure off the joint and running straight off the motor. So it goes round to the BEC, through the BEC into the receiver, and then out of the receiver back round to the steering servo. That's the theory. Does it work? shall we find out if I've basically nuked everything. Right, so let's turn on that. I need the battery. Is that not fitting? That way, okay. That's on. Plug this in. Oh, that's not good. Don't want it like that. Turn it on. Flashing. What's loose then? Okay, so let's turn it off. Turn it on. That works. Turn it off. I think it's to do when I plug it in as well. I don't know if... Ah, yeah. I think I fixed it. It prefers being in that one. So let's just try that again just to make sure. Not too keen on what's going on with these. I bent the pin. How am I going to fix that? Lovely! I think I've cracked it. I think we've cracked it. Just need to sort all the wiring up, and I mean, it does seem pretty quick. And considering that's a 20 kg. Cool, cool, it works! Woohoo! Also, I was worried. Oh, shut up. This servo pulls a lot. And the Traxxas XL5 HV doesn't really deliver. So you can actually burn out the electronic speed controller. So I haven't been pushing it really hard, but that hasn't been in my mind, because a few people have posted in the comments that they've burned them out once they changed the motors, servos. So it's best to do the BEC at the same time as you do the servo. Unfortunately, the post on my BEC took a little bit longer, so I thought I'd add it anyway. So next, I've just got to sort everything out, button everything back down again, and it should be good to go. There you go, that's basically what it takes to put a BEC into an RC car. Now, this is not Traxxas specific. You can put a BEC in lots of different cars. I have a 7.4 volt, very fast Savox steering servo that would happily work with a BEC in a car. This is my Neo Scorcher Tamiya brushless car that has got a high speed servo in it for the steering, and it would benefit from having a BEC fitted in this car, which I probably will do. They're very cheap, you can pick them up. The one I got was a Chinese special, and it works brilliantly. My steering is lovely and fast, and the servo is running at its maximum voltage, so it's nice and happy. I'm not putting the electronic speed controller under a full load and pushing it over its specification, which these servos will happily do. So there you go. As a project, what would I rate that? Probably a 2 out of 10. It's that easy. There's loads and loads of YouTube videos on how to put a BEC in. I'm just putting it into mine, so I thought I would just show it to you. It wasn't really a tutorial as such. It's just showing you what I'm doing with my RC cars. So if you're thinking about giving it a go and you have got a high speed, high voltage servo, easy. It's easier than fitting one of these. So give it a go. I also waterproofed mine because mine's in my Traxxas. It's sat inside. Everything else is waterproof. So I basically glue gunned the edges. It's shrink wrapped originally, and then you just glued up the edges. So I did that. They're so cheap, and if it gets too hot and burns out in a few months or whatever, they're very easy to swap out. So there you go. Thanks very much. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much. Bye bye.